Well, look, this campaign is really targeted towards saving jobs in the Australian tourism industry while encouraging Australians to get out there and have the time of their lives. So, we now have a situation where slowly but surely those interstate borders are coming down, and we want people to think about the summer holidays that are coming up and think about the incredible experiences that they can have across this wonderful country of ours, be that indeed learning to surf or going diving or undertaking cooking lessons or visiting a winery. The different types of experiences that are on offer right across Australia that are going to help save the 1 in 13 jobs that rely on our tourism industry, which have been so hit by COVID. And if people can make a booking and go for a week or two and have a proper break, then that is really going to do wonders for those jobs and those businesses.
Not all borders are open, though. So what good is the campaign if the borders remain closed, and particularly in WA and still at the moment Queensland?
So the spend on this campaign is being targeted, as you would expect it to, reflecting the reality there that not every part of the country can move safely. We are, though, seeing the borders come down. We've seen Queensland open up to Canberra, to South Australia, and we hope soon to New South Wales and Tasmania, as well as to the Northern Territory. We hope to see Tasmania by the end of this month open up, and that will at least then give us a critical mass there of, ideally, if we can get New South Wales open to some half dozen of our 8 jurisdictions open to one another. That's why we've chosen now to launch the campaign. But as I said, we are targeting the spend and where those ads run in terms of those markets where there's greater stability for people to book and move with confidence. And confidence is another factor there. People should know airlines and hotels have all changed their policies to make it much easier for people to shift and cancel bookings if need be, if circumstances change. So people can book with the confidence that they'll have their holiday or get their dough back should circumstances change.
Is this really going to ensure business survival, though, particularly in those areas where tourism has been absolutely decimated? It can't save all of them, surely, particularly if these borders remain closed.
Sadly, I said right at the start of this pandemic that we wouldn't be able to save every job or every business, and that remains as tragically true today as it was way back at the start of this year. But what we have to do is save as many as we can. And now our economic recovery plan is provide the cushioning through JobKeeper payments, small business payments, the new loss carryback provisions that will ensure previously profitable businesses can get back even more of the tax they paid previously as a result of deducting their losses from this year. These are all about ensuring business survival, but we also need to regenerate the demand, and that's what this campaign and the $230+ million record budget for Tourism Australia is about, getting people moving again where they can do so and saving those businesses and jobs through genuine consumer demand.
Yeah, by getting that domestic tourism on the front foot again, is that to suggest, and I notice in the budget we're talking about a vaccine towards the end of next year now, is that to suggest that international travel for next year, Minister's out, so we can't look at really going to Italy for a holiday until 2022?
Look, I hope that we can get arrangements with New Zealand in place by the end of this year for genuine two-way travel to be facilitated, and that might be a model that could then be extended to other destinations that have got similar success rates as Australia and New Zealand in suppressing COVID. But then tragically parts of Europe or the United States, for example, where we do still see very high transmission rates, continue to pose a threat to us so long as there isn't a vaccine or some other new breakthrough in the management of COVID. And the last thing Australia can afford is to have a circumstance where our health and our economic recovery are crippled as a result of a major outbreak. So we'll continue to manage things very, very carefully, because successful health management has enabled us to reopen our economy in a way that is very much the envy of much of the rest of the world, and to save jobs. And that's why in Australia our health outcomes and our economic outcomes are by far superior to much of the rest of the world, and we want to keep it that way.
OK, just a couple of quick ones. Are you able to confirm reports, Minister, that China is going to stop importing Australian coal?
I've seen those reports and I've had discussions with the Australian industry, and we are making approaches to Chinese authorities in relation to that speculation. We have over recent years seen that there's a pattern that has involved previous disruptions to the flow of Australian coal into China, but that market has then recovered as a result of a range of different factors, including the application of some domestic quotas, it seems, in the Chinese system. So, look, I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves in terms of the speculation there, but we are working with industry and taking action in having discussions there with China.
Is there truth to it, and are you worried about it?
We don't have proof that this is occurring, but as I said, we're taking the accusations at a value where we are at least engaging with the Chinese system, seeking a response in relation to those claims that have been aired publicly, and are working with Australian industry, as always, to try to save Australian jobs.
But a response hasn't come yet, obviously.
No, we made those approaches through diplomatic channels overnight.
OK, all right. Well, it's taken some time to get responses from China this year. So, are you expecting a response on this anytime soon?
Well, I trust that our engagement through those channels will yield some response. Of course, you make reference there, I'm sure, to my desire to have a ministerial level dialogue with my Chinese counterpart. And from Australia's perspective, the door remains open and the invitation there for us to have the type of discussion that we should as partners in relation to our economic cooperation in this region. And that's why we are always ready to have that mature dialogue and engagement, even on difficult issues for which we may not agree.
OK, you would have seen the developments out of the archaic yesterday in Sydney, Minister. Should Gladys Berejiklian resign?
Gladys Berejiklian has acknowledged that she's made a mistake in her personal life, but I think New South Wales voters can see squarely that Gladys is somebody who gives her all to the job, achieved remarkable management of COVID through the course of this year, off the back of managing a very difficult bushfire season. And I suspect New South Wales voters will want Gladys to keep her eye firmly on the ball of keeping them safe and getting their jobs back in the economic recovery from COVID.
When is your government going to stop messing about and putting in place a federal archaic, Minister?
Well, look, our government has worked through the process in relation to an integrity commission. That process we've been engaging and consulting in terms of how that is developed, but our focus is squarely on the economic recovery plan from COVID, and that's about saving the jobs of fellow Australians, and that's where my focus is, particularly.
It's not exactly transparent, though, if it's going to be held behind closed doors, which is what Christian Porter is tinking with at the moment, right?
Well, I think we often see the debate had about whether or not aspects of some of these archaic operations in other parts of the country are kangaroo courts or they're show trials. And if you're going to have this sort of work, you want to make sure that it is focused squarely on flushing out any wrongdoing, not just destroying reputations for the sake of it.